Hey, there he is. There's Matt.
What's up, man? Good to see you, man.
Yeah, marry every day. Marry every day.
Every day? That's not your real hair, is it?
No.
How's it going, man?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Hi.
Oh, I love this. This is great.
Matt.
Matt?
What's up, dude? Yeah.
Krikor.
Got it.
There's the real deal. That is it, huh? I'm alright.
If you don't fake it, then you're cool.
I mean, the whole name, I'm just so curious about. Is it?
It's a long story, but well, the first name is easy. Krikor is it's actually a pretty common Armenian name.
Yeah.
It's the Armenian version of Gregory.
Okay.
But don't call me Greg.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. I don't know. Greg is a boring name to me, but like.
Sure. Oh, that's interesting. I had no
and
idea.
now I'm on record saying that. So
There
all
it
the
is.
Gregs out there,
Yeah.
fuck you. I don't know
That's
where
like-
the cameras are.
That's
but,
like that song, Call Me Maybe, but not.
Yeah, but not Greg.
I think I
Yeah.
know Greg's.
My roommate's name is Greg. He's the guy who he's like the front man of the band that I'm in. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to get fired.
I think he's a great front man. There you are.
yeah,
You're
he's
hired
fun,
again.
right? Yeah, like
There
that.
you are. Yeah.
He's goofy. Like I appreciate that he tries to be himself on stage, and that's the most anybody can ask for. But
I was just whispering into the microphone on accident. Idiot. fuck. Because I just started the GoPro painting camera.
Oh no.
Luckily, I caught that this early on, but nobody saw my initial measuring movements. So,
They're just gonna think you're that good.
yeah, they'll be like, "How did you do that in 2 seconds?" So please continue.
Yeah, well, that's the first name. The last name is not as typical. So usually Armenian last names end in IAN or YAN. That's like our version of like Johnson, like the son of, like SON is for us. It's IAN or YAN.
I never put that together, Johnson.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So my grandparents lived in Turkey, and back in the day, kind of actually today still to an extent, it was not great for Armenians living in Turkey. There's like a lot of tension between the two groups. And this was the time where like the Turkish government started having everybody register their last names, because up until that point nobody, I don't know the full history, but people didn't really have they didn't have like the normal type of like first last name setup that we do now. So they were kind of moving into the modern era. They're like, okay, everybody has last names now. You have to go register your last name. And
Strange.
yeah, I'm probably butchering that historical element of it, but my grandfather goes to register a last name for the family. He doesn't want it to be an Armenian sounding last name because that'll bring like unwanted attention to them and like probably harassment. So he decides, instead of it being like the typical IAN ending, he'll make it an Armenian word. So he wanted it to be the word Paylan, which means shiny and bright. But
Cool.
again, this is where like the details get fuzzy, but either the guy just didn't like the way that sounded at the office and was like, that's not a real name, and he just wrote what he wanted, or it was just a genuine typo, but Paylan became Paylan.
Mm-hmm.
And there we go. That's my name.
Interesting. That's more than I know about mine. I just know Holzrichter means wood judge.
Wood judge?
Yeah, Holz is wood and Richter is judge, and that's the end of my story.
That's
You
cool.
make of that what you will.
I've been told my last name is it's some form of train in Old Polish. It's either train or speedy train.
What's your last name?
It's Rhychlik.
Rhychlik?
It's spelled Rychlik, so it's pronounce the Y like an I, and you're good.
Mm-hmm.
Because people look at these, I've over the years, when telemarketers would call the house, I'd get Rhychlik,
that makes
unpronounceable versions where I'm like, do you understand how consonants sound in the first place? How did you get whatever mishmash you came up with? But yeah, it's a Polish name. or it's like more specifically, it's bohemian, I guess. My grandfather would always say. It means it's some sort of like speedy or train, which kind of doesn't make sense because trains have only been around for roughly 150 years.
Whatever you say, I'd agree with because I'm really bad with history and like dates. When was the first train? Train run?
It wasn't that long ago.
We'll look it up in post.
Yeah.
We'll have it right here.
Sure. The first train was run in Beverly Hills in 1974.
No, the first train was run by Leif Erikson, who built it from Denmark and that's how North America was discovered.
So,
Yep.
So,
my family's responsible for that, so you're all welcome.
Yeah, that's fine. I think your story is probably more realistic. God. I am so chaotic in this painting today. It's as though I'm another person completely. Maybe I'm some kind of version of this elf I'm depicting today.
This sexy slave elf.
Sexy slave elf. That's for you off camera that can't see my gams. Perhaps you'll stick around until the end of the episode when the great reveal happens. Maybe it'll be a subpar reveal.
It's worth it.
Maybe you'll never know.
I'm looking right now. It's worth it.
So you were saying you wanted to start focusing on music and art, and you had kind of a project that you were going to get started.
I've been a drummer for I messed around with it when I was a young kid, from like 4 or 5 years old, and it was just something I'd kind of dick with. And I was more of a sports guy back then. And in high school, I got serious with it. Went to school for it, didn't finish, dropped out. So I've been playing seriously for roughly 20 years, somewhere around there, 15, so 23, 5, actually 21, 22 years there. I've had years where I'd pause in between and not play so much. Mm-hmm. I'd pick up and practice some more on the practice pad, get back on the kit for a while. But this year, I decided for myself that 2023 was going to be a year where I was going to, dive into it head first and be my primary, source of, hopefully an occupation in the next, couple months. But took a leave of absence from work. Thankfully was able to do that in this day and age where most people can't, which is a bummer. Which is why I understand why a lot of people are kind of abandoning, their artistic endeavors they wanted to do.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Something but
it's one or the other. Either they're abandoning their jobs for their artistic endeavors, or they're abandoning their artistic endeavors for their jobs. I think that we're in an interesting time.
You just got to do what you love for work, man.
I think that is an untrue statement.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear, most of the time when I hear it, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's I did what I loved for a good 4 or 5 years full time as oil painter, and that was my full time. It was wonderful in some ways because I became a better painter. Mm-hmm. I became more confident. I became more able to be expressive in my brushwork, less tight. And I think that helped a lot during that time. I was a commission painter for the majority of that time, so I was painting people's kids. I was painting landscapes, and I tried to find creative ways to do that because it gets to be frustrating being a commission artist, and you compromise so much of your language and your voice, which gives the work its initial value.
Sure.
To please the clients. And while I love those paintings, I wound up, fighting to keep the things in that I thought I believed in, or convincing the clients from the beginning that they ought to trust me. It's pretty often that people really just want a picture of their loved one to look just like them.
But with no frills.
Yeah. So any kind of language, of poetry that you've developed as a creator and as a creative is sort of thrown out the window a lot of the time because you're trying to satisfy marketplace demand, and the marketplace is sort of a lot of offense to collectors and patrons so far, but a lot of the times they have less of an education on painting than I do.
All the time.
So I think that that idea that doing what you love full time is like is, unless it's approached in the way that I just described, you're often a total martyr for an ideology or a sort of concept of what an artist is supposed to be. If we're talking about art, anything you love doing.
I was gonna say, though, we're in a lot.
And martyrdom is not as cool as it seems. from the driver's seat, anyway.
A lot of great painters though were commission artists. So like especially the guys in the Renaissance, it was a lot of times it was the church that would pay for their paintings, right? It's the way they made a living.
Yeah, I mean, they were still able to do their tongue-in-cheek humor, like hiring prostitutes to pose as the Virgin Mary and things like that, you know. But I still think patrons are really important. I will probably do commissions for the rest of my life, and I think that most people who do creative profession or who are in creative professions probably ought to, you know, just to supplement their dream projects. Otherwise, where does that money come from?
How's this going to get done?
I feel like I've heard this phrase from time to time where, you know, they say like you do one for them and then one for you.
Yeah.
You know, I think what's tricky about it is that whole concept of like do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. That full statement I do think is bullshit because I think what people don't understand is like really what that entails is like running your own business, you know, and that's not usually very fun, you know. So it's like when you're running your own business, you're doing so much stuff outside of what you want to do, right? Like you just want to paint.
The more successful you get in that endeavor, the more it becomes a job.
Yeah.
So other people have to be involved, like, you know, management, lawyers, stuff like that. You know, if you come from the art, like who wants to sit and listen to these BS meetings when all you want to do is go back and work?
Yeah.
You know,
it's like
work on your art rather than, like, you know, work at, you know, promoting it or making sure people hear it or see it.
Yeah. I mean, Adam just wants to paint. You just want to play music, you know, me as well. Like I would love to just kind of putz around on the bass all day. Like, you know, it would be fun, but it's not going to make me money.
Right.
Like, yeah. So it's like, so yeah, it's not really, it's never really quite as nice as it sounds. You know, in theory, it sounds like this perfect system.
Right. Rarely it is.
Well, how many hats you have to wear is absolutely insane when you're starting any kind of business too. Yeah. So before you can delegate a single task, you have to make enough money to excuse that. And so you're doing that, you have a lot of new things to learn. Mm-hmm. If you don't have the motivation to learn those things, and you're you're not willing to watch YouTube videos to instructionals on how to do like editing, like post-production, or for example, or like how to do marketing, you know, the marketing is the one that I'm not so savvy on just this moment, but all of that stuff is sort of like, you cannot outsource that stuff to pay. You cannot expect other people to do it for free. So it's a tough thing being a business owner in a startup stage. So yeah, entrepreneurship, and
I think they're two different. They're two different. Entirely different worlds. There's the world of the artist and the world of the businessman who has to promote that art. It's all about it's promotion. You can't make money off that endeavor unless people know about it or see it or hear it.
Yeah.
And if you want to expand your audience, it's got to get out to a larger portion of people in a quicker amount of time.
Yeah.
The internet's awesome for that, but I don't know how
it's crazy.
To what extent it dilutes the art.
Yeah.
If you want to describe to that, it's a lot of people seem to have figured it out. They do it.
Yeah, I mean,
I wonder how satisfied they are.
Yeah.
Probably pretty satisfied. I mean, shit.
Sure.
You have periods of dissatisfaction where you're kind of grinding so much that you forget to live as a human being.
Right.
And then it's like a it's a moment that strikes you every once in a while where you realize, oh my God, I love my life. Like, what would I do if I weren't doing this? Like hopefully that's the way you think anyway.
Sure.
I thought that way when I looked at this insane living room that I have. I felt that, and I stopped this morning and was like, wow, I like how my life is going. It's completely insane to somebody else, but to me it's like, this is perfect.
This is where you want to be. That's great. I think it's a great living room too. I was wondering.
I wouldn't recommend doing this unless you have a purpose.
Mine.
Yeah.
Yours
What did you get?
one,
did you get us some gifts?
Yeah, yours is the one that's closest to you.
All right.
I didn't get you gifts.
Oh my God.
You got you gifts.
Oh,
By being so special.
excellent.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
Do you read it all?
You can open those
little
whenever you
bit.
want. So
Yeah.
just
I've been trying to more because I don't. I'm trying to figure out any way I can to spend less time on a screen. You know, I know it sounds kind of like
It's
I don't know. I feel like that's what everybody says, but we're all like, I'm obviously still on my phone or on my computer a lot. But yeah,
Sure.
I don't know. I'm trying to read more just as a way to take me away from that.
it's another form of instant gratification. Yeah, I think it's just easier to turn on this, stare at the screen. I do it all the time too. Yeah, I don't use much social media though at all, which is pretty good. But I still go on YouTube. And I can go down a rabbit hole pretty easly.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I've stayed away from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram stuff. I don't use. I just never found an interest in it. I assume from a networking standpoint, it's great. But
I don't know. I mean,
I always thought it was odd that so many people I know, and you're not not so much of a judgment on them, but one of the things they spend most of their time during the day doing is just flipping through social media, not doing any sort of execution with it for them. It's just
checking all the apps.
that's the day in, day out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's a video of a guy that has a funny voice. Send that to my friend. It's like, I get the humor in that. It's fun that, but when that ends up when that ends up taking up 6 hours of your free time, and you're one day off a week, it's like, and like I said, I'm guilty of it too. That's not I'm not trying to put myself on a pedestal at all. I find it's and this is relatively new. It's only 10, 12 years. It's since the smartphone has come out. It's really, it took a quick hold of us.
Yeah.
I don't know how you read
It's got its hooks in.
as often as you do, as much as you seem to, Matt. It's always been a thing that I admired about you.
I haven't been reading much lately. I've picked up, I've started, I finally, now that I have more time, I'm going to, dedicate a lot more time because, a lot of times I would come home from work, my favorite thing was to read, at night, before I go to bed. But sometimes when you get off work, it's like, you work, 8 or 9 hours, which isn't, an exorbitant amount of time, but all I want to do is, eat and go to bed and then get ready to go to work the next day, so it's, just gets the errands and the things you need to do to make keep life going forward get in the way sometimes. But that's I've always thought that's nothing more than there's a minor excuse. If you really want to do it, you should be able to find the time to do it.
Yeah.
Even if it's only for maybe an hour a day, you get a couple a few pages in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What are you reading right now?
It's a book by Ernest Becker, who is an anthropologist and a psychologist. It's called The Denial of Death.
Okay.
It won the Pulitzer Prize. I think it came out in 1974. In a nutshell, it's about how he came up with this, theory and idea that a lot of the rituals and everything, from religion to art forms and almost anything we do to fill our day out is really a mask for the intense amount of death anxiety that people would if people are forced to look in the mirror and say there's another psychologist that he kind of took Becker's work and expounded on, named Sheldon Solomon. He's like, he put it more in a kind of a 20th century context that if we stopped and thought that all we really are is breathing sacks of defecating meat, that we're not any more enduring than lizards or potatoes, we literally wouldn't be able to stand up in the morning and do anything if we didn't cover that idea, that inevitability up with, books and, like I said, rituals, like, religion and anything else.
And
anything
Instagram.
anything you do to fill your day out is all, it's an attempt to shield from the inevitability, which we know about it, but we rarely kind of sit down and think about it. And that's not what he's saying in the book, is to sit down and think about it. It's just it's more of a realization that he came to through years of study.
Yeah,
like I said, there's been some psychiatrists now that have expounded on his work. He passed away like probably shortly after the book, so he's been gone for a while. There's some other guys that are working on stuff like that. So
after the book, he had nothing to do, and he was thinking about death a lot. And then
he finished the book. Got it printed. He's like,
finished himself off, and he was like,
I'm done.
Yeah, did it. Bye.
I think he passed away of natural causes. I don't think he did anything intentional.
How natural?
Yeah, bullet to the head.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
No, that's an interesting concept. I feel like at the beginning of the pandemic, that's something I grappled with for a bit. Was I started to, because people are dying from the virus a lot, and that seems to be all that you're hearing about on TV or from anybody you talk to.
Yeah.
So then it just kind of becomes a topic that consumes you and something you're kind of constantly thinking about. You're just always thinking about death. And then, so early on in the pandemic, I was just getting like really bad, like panic attacks. 'Cause it was like, that seemed to be all I could focus on. And like you said, when that is all you think about, that you're like, I'm just waiting to die. You're like, well, what's the point? And then, sorry, this is, who thought we'd end up here? But yeah, so.
Yeah, there's a skull right there.
Yeah.
And a dead Rudolph also.
Yeah. That's Silver Specker's skull.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, right?
There it is.
But yeah, I guess that is the point, right? Is then you do all these things. One, because it's like, okay, well, I'm not dead yet, so I got to do something to occupy my time, and it's like, yeah, sure, maybe we're doing all these things to like distract ourselves from the fact that we're going to die, but
I think the goal of his book wasn't to kind of like, point it out and then tell everybody, no, we should just be focusing on, our inevitable mortality. I think his idea was just to explain why it is we do all these,
right.
Yeah.
Well,
and a lot of it seems, silly or mundane, depending on who you are, what your opinions are on it. But the idea is like, it's just this, it's this constant, blocking out,
looming thing,
right? And there's a part in the book towards the end that I haven't read into, but I read a few synopses on where he kind of explains like my goal here isn't just to tell us that we should just abandon all these rituals and arts, and hobbies. We should just kind of do those and maybe be a little more mindful and be a little more graceful about accepting what happens to everybody, and maybe we can focus our anxieties and our displeasures on fixing things on Earth, which could be much better. Maybe if we focused our time on that, things could be a lot better. If we just accepted, hey, we're all going to end up in the ground or in a can somewhere. Let's try
I want to be in a can.
Can sounds fun.
I want to be in I
want
to be in this can. I'm going to finish it and then I'm going to go in here, right? Hang on to it.
The generic Trader Joe's brand of
sparkling water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be.
I'll make. We've made a note of that. That we'll add that to Matt's will.
Yeah, I want to be. I want my ashes to be raspberry lime flavored. All right. No substitutes.
And then you swap it out with a real can in Trader Joe's.
Yeah, I wonder about that. What's the best way to?
I didn't really
dispose of yourself.
Oh, to dispose of yourself.
Do you dispose of yourself, or do you celebrate yourself with a monument to yourself, or
no?
Do you
Cemeteries are a waste of space.
I agree with that. Especially when they're in beautiful places.
Yeah. It's like just put it in a Walmart
or is
parking lot.
Family there,
or is it the cemetery's existence itself which makes the place beautiful?
Oh, okay. I've heard about this thing where this company makes a coffin out of like mycelium.
Okay.
So it's like a fully biodegradable coffin.
Mm-hmm.
So you just put the body in there, bury it, and then it just like degrades and becomes part of the earth. Yeah. Maybe you plant a tree. That's another one I've heard where you like.
Right. Yeah. The seed.
You like get cremated and then you put like tree seeds in your ashes or something.
Right. That seems fun. I always had this. I mean, I remember writing a little story about. a man who falls in love with a tree that his lover who died was buried under.
Oh, okay.
So it's like
That's a relatively common theme,
isn't it?
Yeah,
I saw it in the Pinocchio movie that
the
just came
Aronofsky
out.
movie, The Fountain, is about that. Well, I mean, it's a non-linear story, but at the end of it, you kind of get the idea that Hugh Jackman plays this I don't know, neuroscientist sort who's trying. His wife is dying of some sort of cancer, and he's trying to find a cure for death. Basically, she ends up passing away, but he does, and she's buried in this tree. And
I think it's a
you
common
ever seen
story.
The Fountain? Have you ever seen The
I
Fountain?
don't remember it, but I
know
did see it.
the
Yeah.
movie. I know of the movie, but I never saw it.
The idea, yeah, it's the idea
I heard
of
about that.
she's her the remnants of her organic self become part of the tree, and he was trying to take the tree to this nebula Xibalba, and and again in kind of like again I think it was Aztec or it was Mayan mythology. Xibalba was like the it's been a while since I saw the movie. Was
Your memory is so insane to me.
I
It's
think
always
was the
funny, like-
it's the place where you go when you die, but you can also it's about rebirth, is the endless cycle of death and rebirth, something like that.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, the idea of us passing into a form of nature is not new.
Sure,
been
yeah.
around
Oh,
for a long
sure,
time.
sure, yeah.
Like I was saying, I just watched that new Pinocchio movie by
There's a
Guillermo
new
del
Pinocchio?
Toro.
I was I was
right.
gonna go see
Man.
that. I passed on
Was
it.
that?
It's good.
It was so gorgeous. It was.
Oh, okay.
It was his style of lore, I guess. Like, it just felt like him, and he involved religious imagery in the story, like he would, because he's just who he is, and
Yeah.
he's traversing history like through the greatest and largest stories that we know culturally and globally. And he's like, sure, why not reference a big crucifix that Geppetto's building? It's a big, like a big statue of Jesus that he's building in this story. This is his telling of the story, and it was like, yeah, that felt like his telling of the story, and it was so beautifully done. The way they touched down on fathers and the way they touched on the father and son relationship and dynamic in the story, the stories of loss, Geppetto's son dying and Pinocchio sort of coming into
Filling the
existence, and his need or his desire to replace his dead son with this new thing that he tried to create, like as an avatar of his dead son at points, and it was like, no, you have to move on. This is a new thing. It was
Right.
like, I can't believe how complex that story that you would think
Is that
for
the
a
original
child is.
premise of the movie?
I just don't know, but
think it's
but this is the retelling of through his lens,
Right.
and I think he took some creative liberties.
I think
I'm
the original
sure.
Pinocchio is that a
Couple.
Brothers Grimm story.
Yeah, I think.
It was-
I mean, that's probably why he could use it.
Yeah, because the
It
Brothers
wasn't
Grimm,
like,
like
Disney.
there's like they
Certainly
made a
wasn't
lot
Disney.
of
It
Brothers
was
Grimm stories into like
Netflix
more
production.
child acceptable, like the original, like the Disney Pinocchio was a lot more, it was animated and it was fun
course.
for kids. The original, I think it was Brothers Grimm. If I'm not,
Well,
someone
it's
let me
a
know.
similar story.
Their story's a lot more dark,
or
yeah,
similar
than-
timeline in this. The story, very, very much more dark. Very much more Guillermo del Toro. It was just gorgeous too. So that's a fun Christmas stop motion animation thing to watch.
Yeah.
Maybe the little drummer boy and then the new Pinocchio. It's like that's a new Christmas classic.
Did you see Mad God at all?
It was. I did not. What's that?
It's a stop motion. It's claymation stop motion. It's from Phil Tippett, the guy that did like the Star Wars stuff, the original.
Oh, okay.
And he's done
I
other
don't know about
special
that.
effects stuff. He has his own studio now. And he had this project for like 30 years he'd been working on. And it was this Mad God story that he had, and he got too busy with it. His studio got more and more popular after Star Wars and stuff, and then he was always busy doing other animatronic stuff for other companies.
Uh-huh.
So he kind of just put it on the shelf and forgot about it for a long time. And his staff one day was in one of his warehouses looking for parts for something else for another project they were working on. They found one of his tubs or one of his containers filled with these puppets he had built and these storyboards and stuff. And they went to him. They're like, and he's in his like early 70s or like mid 70s now, so he's getting older. And they're like, "What is this stuff, man?" And he was like, "Oh man," he's like, "That's a project I've been working on for like 30 years. I forgot about." And they were like, we gotta make this thing. It's amazing. You know, they're looking at storyboard ideas, and he was like, we don't have the time. You know, we're too busy with other stuff. You know, maybe I'll never get around to it. You know, I'm getting older, blah blah. And then they were like, look, we'll come in on the weekends whenever we have that. We'll come in on our days off to finish this. We'll help you finish this because this movie is too amazing. So they did that, and they finally got it out. It came out last summer, I think.
What's it called?
Summer. Mad God.
Mad God.
Mad God.
It's an amazing. I'm not an animatronic claymation expert at all, but I thought it was fucking amazing.
I believe it.
It's really, really cool. I saw it twice in Music Box Theater.
Oh man, that's a big deal. You don't go to movies often, do you?
I tried to.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Have we ever gone to see something? I don't think we have. We usually just drink.
Yeah, I think
copious amounts of books.
Yeah, I don't think we ever. Maybe you went to Music Box once or twice.
I think that.
I can't remember.
Let's see.
Yeah, I try to get there.
That's a theater that I really enjoy. I think one of the last times I went there, I saw that movie Licorice Pizza. That was a fun one.
That was P.T. Anderson's newest movie.
Yeah.
What else has that guy done?
He's Magnolia, There Will Be Blood, The Master. He's done some of my favorite movies the last 20 years.
Yeah, that was a cool one.
Jeez,
I didn't know.
He did Boogie Nights.
No?
I haven't seen Boogie Nights. I have a friend who keeps telling me to
Phantom
watch
Thread.
it.
Did a lot of work with Daniel Day-Lewis. He's
Okay.
done 2 movies with Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah, that one was a fun movie.
Phantom Thread?
No, the Licorice Pizza one.
Oh.
That was pretty friendly, you know?
Yeah, it was one of
Wholesome?
Yeah, it was.
I would say, yeah, it's downright wholesome.
All
I
of
think
his
so,
movies have
honestly.
a bit of a dark tinge to them. That was one of his lesser
Yeah, it was cool though.
ones. Yeah.
Smart and stuff. That's
You know, and whatever else.
Yeah.
I think this guy knows how to tell a story here. This Paul guy.
hmm
Yeah, I try to get out there. I saw the new Korean movie called Decision to Leave.
Okay.
It was made by the guy that wasn't the guy that did. It was made by the guy that did Old Boy, the original
The
Old
original
Boy movie,
Old Boy?
the Korean
Okay.
Old Boy. Yeah, not the American remake.
Okay.
It was pretty good. What else have I seen lately?
What was good about it?
It was just it's kind of a hard story to explain. It was about a detective who comes across this woman who men she's involved with seem to die under mysterious circumstances, and then it was about how he becomes obsessed with her even though he's married and he has problems in his marriage, and it was kind of a twisting tale into how that all unravels. I don't want to give anything away.
Sure. Yeah.
Sounds hot.
I know.
She seduces him.
That's the typical path, I guess.
It's more terrifying than anything else. It's
The heroes.
without giving anything
That's
away.
that's such a common hero story. The siren, basically, right?
Yeah, she definitely, ticks some of those marks.
I haven't seen like a quality movie in a while.
Mad Guy was still. I've seen. I don't know, probably a good chunk of the movies this year. Mad Guy was still my favorite.
Cool. Yeah, I want to make
It's
a note
probably.
of that.
I'm guessing it'll probably get nominated for like a lot of special effects Oscars. It combined another aspect of it was because he started working on this in the '80s, so the majority was animatronic puppets, stuff like that. Then you can see there's a shift in the movie where it goes to like CGI, 21st century stuff. And I think I read something where when they actually made the decision, him and his crew to get the movie finished, they didn't want to bring anything up to him about because a lot of this stuff was done in the late '80s and '90s, where it's like that those CGI technologies didn't exist, and they were thinking about bringing up the idea of maybe introducing some of that, but they didn't want to fuck with his vision. And then eventually, when they were about halfway through getting some of the work done, he came to them and he was like, "Hey, would you guys mind doing some CGI stuff for this?" And they were like, "We thought you'd never ask."
We already did.
You can see a shift in the movie.
Yeah,
for anybody
and then
that hasn't seen it. You can
suddenly
see where it kind of goes from what the movie was originally, and then it shifts into a 21st century aspect of
That's cool. It's like a journey.
special
through time.
effects wise. Yeah.
Do you remember seeing that? The Star Wars movies when they remastered those and they added the extra weird scenes with CGI?
Yeah,
Yes.
dude.
The original movies.
There's that like bars. It's like Jabba the Hutt's.
Yeah, he meets
Club.
them by the Millennium Falcon for the first
Oh
time.
yeah,
or
that was
something.
that
And
was
it
not in
it
the
was
original.
so
right?
badly done.
Yeah.
Oh god,
It's
I
so
remember
funny.
seeing that. Like we have this new technology. It's such.
It's like
garbage.
the movies were already out. You know, it's like why did you feel the need to add all
None of
this?
those scenes added anything to the
Yeah.
movies, did
Oh,
they? They're all
upset
There's-
everyone was.
There's the one I think it's in episode 5 where there's this this alien chick singing.
Mhm.
There's like a scene of her just singing a song in a made up alien language,
Uh-huh.
all CGI, and it's really bad.
And there was
And
already
added
the
after
original
the fact,
scene,
you know, like
right?
huh?
There was already the original scene of the singer.
I think so, and then they redid it with like a CGI
Different.
alien, and it was
Uh-huh.
just
The
It's-
band was different or something
it's
like
really
that.
bad.
It's a silly thing. I
It
guess.
is funny how you can be like you can make a movie as like iconic as Star Wars while simultaneously being so off the mark with certain things. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. George Lucas is weird, man. I don't.
This painting, I have made such
I think it's why
obstacle
selling-
course for myself in this painting. You wouldn't believe.
I was gonna say you got to paint this background every
It's
time.
not bad.
This is
It's
crazy.
the painting itself. How insanely I approach this one is completely different than any others I've approached. The approach is totally different than I've done on other episodes. I'm just like letting the brush drive for a minute, and I'm gonna solve it and like figure out the solutions for the problems I created.
So
It's fun.
what is your like goal now that you're off work? You're gonna focus on music. What's step one?
Step one is to, like I said, I finally pulled the trigger and I put in a really nice order to a drum company to build a kit for me. I had the money put aside for it, so I got that done. That's not going to be done until the summertime because it's back ordered, so it's going to take some time for them to get it, build it. I picked all the wood out myself, so I think that's that's a fun. It's the type the type of drum kit I can have for the rest of my life. I won't need to
What
put
company?
it in. It's DW.
Okay.
Drum Workshop. So while that's doing, I'm probably going to get I'm going to get an interim kit that I'm going to use. It'll probably be similar size. I think they're custom sizes too that you couldn't find in any standard kit. And
Gotcha.
that's another reason why I wanted to get that done. Get that out of the way. Get a rehearsal space set up. Where I can knock some of the cobwebs and the dust off. Because it's been a little bit since I've been on the kit. Probably 6 months at least. And then I'll take care of that. Get all my chops back. And then just try and find like-minded people. I mean, I talk to people and they're asking me like, "What kind of stuff do you want to do? What kind of band is this?" And then the answer ultimately is I don't know. I mean, I studied jazz in college for a while, so my jazz theory is going to be a big component of it. I'm still a big fan of hard rock in general. Use it as a blanket term. I don't want to. It's I cut my teeth doing a lot of thrash metal and death metal stuff from the '80s, so
nice.
I don't really want to revisit that area. I'm also into a lot of electronic music, any kind of avant-garde, orchestral type stuff, compositional type stuff, as opposed to the Western pop structure.
Okay.
That a lot of regular rock bands do. So it's rather than have some deep very detailed explanation of what I want it to be. I'd rather get a group of like-minded individuals together. So want to do a lot of improvisation, rehearsing, bring whatever pieces you had, because I've been sitting on some material for years now that I haven't used. That I've gone through and said this is good enough to be in a really expansive project. It's going to be worth something. Find people like that and let's get into a room and start tossing ideas around. And then once you do that with the like-minded individuals that are that are serious about music, the sound's it's going to reveal itself.
Yeah.
And as long as it's I don't want to use terms like raw or organic, which a lot of people do that bother me, but if it sounds good to everybody, if it makes sense to everybody, if it's coming from a good place, and it's if there's if we can get to any place where there's new, fresh ideas, then it's the direction we should go in.
Well, just starting is probably the first step.
Right.
I think.
Of course.
And that's like
I said,
perfecting a thing before you ever create it is so dangerous. It's such a dangerous approach to creativity, I think.
Yeah, to come in.
That you wind up never making anything most of the time, I think, and that doesn't mean that there's not value. I don't think there's value in structure and design. That's not what I'm saying. It's more so like perfectionism before anyone makes anything. I would say more often than not leads to nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that just failing at things is not necessarily faking it until you make it, but just break it until you fix it kind of like that's a it's a cute way to put it, but I think that
It's cute.
yeah, I think that the creative process is like that
It's
it
required.
requires that.
Yeah.
I'm not. You mean I don't think any artist should be afraid of failure. You're gonna see that more than anything. Like I mentioned, I'm sitting on a small amount of stuff that I've refined over the last 4 or 5 years, and that probably accounts for maybe 1% of what I've gone through and right now. But 99% of the stuff is garbage, so I toss that aside.
Right.
So you're sitting, like I said, I'm not kind of avoiding the last couple of years of doing anything else because I've got a nice nice nucleic set of things I want to work with that's good enough to hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to come in meet 4 or 5 other guys and have here's an album's worth of material already. I don't want
Here are your parts. Everybody.
Right. I'm not interested in that. I'm not good enough to do that. I'm not I don't have the Zappa level skill to write entire pieces myself.
You're probably a lot better than you think.
Once
Your brain, since I've known you, I believe that you're better than you think.
Once I cross the threshold of getting in and getting a foundation written, then the stuff just sprouts up spontaneously, and I find it and I grab it and then I'll use it.
Krikor, I'm curious about your history with music, and when did you start approaching music? What got you into the kinds of music that you got into, and what kind of influences did you have, like mentors or what?
The first instrument I learned was violin. As a kid. Like I have 2 older sisters, and they were in orchestra, and my oldest sister played violin. The middle sister, my second oldest sister, played cello, and then I was just violin again. I don't know. You'd think it would have been something different, but I don't know. They went back to violin. So my parents signed me up with like a private teacher, and I was like pretty decent at violin at that age. I played all the way until the end of high school. I was in like the high school orchestra and the junior high orchestra. Starting in like junior high, some of my friends played guitar, so I just kind of got into that. And I was technically already playing a string instrument. And guitar is qualifies as a string instrument, so it was kind of just like a natural transition. And with guitar, you're more readily able to play like the songs that you probably listen to, unless you only listen to classical music, but, so like I start playing guitar with my friends, and I'm able to play like songs from bands that I listened to. And then that just became much more enticing at that time. So junior high, I started playing guitar. High school, I started playing bass.
So were you able to play by ear, or how structured was that?
In the beginning, it was a lot of just like looking stuff up online, like for guitar tabs and whatnot. And I've tried to train my ear a bit, but I'm at a place now where like I don't want to put any obstacles in my way when it comes to learning something. So it's like for a long time I would want to learn a song, and I'd be like, you can't look up how to play it. You have to learn it by ear, But then it would just take me a long time because it's not always that easy. So
right.
I don't know. So for me, like it's now I'm in a place currently where I just want to learn more about music. I don't really know a ton of theory, so I've been trying to teach myself theory like with books and stuff. And I play in a couple bands, but like I'm not the one making the music or composing the music. So yeah, like right now it's more of like I want to go back to basics, if you will, because like I learned how to do that stuff on violin, like how to read sheet music, but I never learned it for guitar or for bass. So I feel like I have these kind of gaps that I would like to fill in. But sorry, to better answer your question.
No, there were like six questions in the one I asked. So.
Well, yeah, but like with how I got to where I am currently was just simply like initially it was just playing with friends, right? Like I wanted to learn this instrument, so I started putting a lot of my time towards learning songs that I liked. That was really what I was doing on guitar and bass. And then eventually it got to this point of like I became friends with a guy, and he was just like, you play guitar, you play bass? He's like, we have to start a band, which like was not something I ever even thought of doing. I was just like, I want to learn the instrument. And he immediately was like, we're starting a band. I'll be the drummer. He didn't know how to play the drums yet, but like he was just like, he had like the other side of the equation where it was like he had a bigger picture in his head.
Yeah.
So like we tried getting a band together unsuccessfully for a while. Just like auditioning singers when we weren't even that good ourselves, and it was just like a big mess. But then we were eventually like put in touch with this guy who does like blues guitar, and he was looking for a rhythm section to create a trio. So like my buddy and I became his trio, and we played as a blues trio for about 7 years.
Okay.
And that's where I learned a lot just about gigging and like really basic like song structure, and then like I just ended up playing in other people's bands from that point on, right? It's just like you make one connection that leads to another, so you end up in this band, then you end up in the next. The initial blues trio I played in was the guy was like is a very close friend of Daniel, who is in the band that I play in now. So it's like
the other half of this Christmas special.
Yeah, you'll all meet him soon. So I don't know. It's just a lot of random connections. The one thing I'll say is that I feel like I've always been like pulled in a specific direction. It's always been somebody who's like, I have a band, like, do you want to play in my band? And I just say, sure,
Cool.
Because I feel like bass players are typically harder to find.
They are.
Nobody wants to play bass. Everybody wants to play like the lead instrument.
Everyone's always looking for drummers and bass players.
Yeah.
Is that the why is that? Is that the romantic sort of?
Everybody wants to play guitar.
Well, is that the most romantic sort of approach to being in a band? Like, do people romanticize that role?
What?
The lead and the guitarist or whatever.
Well,
they're right out front.
Absolutely. I mean,
I think it's. I'm sorry. As far as that seems
like
the
an
most
obvious
heralded
yes
musicians
question.
tend to be like
Sorry.
at least like in Western pop music, it's using a guitar player. Everyone talks about Hendrix and Clapton, Stevie Ray Vaughan and all those guys, other great guitar players. Those seem to be the most famous guys. People, bass players. I mean, there's a couple bass players that might have household status.
right.
How often? I mean, is it that someone at a concert is even looking at or listening to the bass? I mean, it just same as the drums. I could say this from firsthand experience that's not what I've generally listened to when I'm at a concert.
You're only
and which like for all of my stories so far, and that's crazy to me. But musicians who I meet do listen to those things. I think most commonly people just sort of they put on their their blinders for that or their deafeners or whatever.
I have met a lot of people. Oh, good.
And that's like the foundation of the house, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the drums and the bass are the foundation. Right.
The rhythm section,
like any great band that's always come that's come along in the last 60, 70 years of rock and roll or the band set music. They've always had great drummers and great bass players. If you don't have a great rhythm section, your band's you're doomed. You're doomed to failure.
Yeah.
If you can't have a team of guys that can propel the song along correctly.
Yeah. I've seen so many shitty bands with awesome drummers.
Yeah.
Where like none of the other members are really pulling their weight, but because their drummer is like very tight and on the ball, it still sounds like a band. Like it's just like okay, yeah, like this is passable, I guess, but like nothing else is really interesting about the band. But if the drummer can hold it down, they kind of make it to the next level, right? Like
equally for the bass too.
Those instruments tend to be the type of that saying where like when like a good drummer and I guess a good bassist is somebody that you don't really notice is there, because like they're holding down like the background of the song, like the canvas, if you will,
right?
And then like what grabs you typically is the melody, right?
So do you find that they're more often Buddhists?
Yeah.
Are they? Are they sort of Zen people who are just sort of like, I accept that I'm not seen in such a way as the more romanticized roles in this band? What is the?
I think that's
that must affect a personality.
That's
or
I think
like
that is
attractive
the stereotype.
Personality.
Yeah. I mean, it's a joke I make a lot about myself, where like when people are just like, whenever somebody's been like, you should start a business or you should do this, they're like, you know, like you have to be a leader, and I'd be like, I'm a bass player. That's like not my thing, you know. Like,
side man.
Yeah, I'm the bar back of the band, you know, like that's and like I don't know, it's just.
I think that's funny. Yeah.
But I think there is definitely a stereotype of that where it's like, the bass player is usually a specific type.
The
but
therapist of the band or something?
Not even. It's just like the guy, it's like, oh yeah, that guy's in the band. Like, I don't know. That's harsh. But
you ever seen the
well, we're exaggerating for
a long time ago.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's they made the joke and they're like, every person in the band in the movie has a name, but they never mention the bass player's name. He's always referred to as the bass player. And never like if they ever refer to him like, you know, preposition, it's always like, hey you, he, that guy, hey you.
He's just standing in the corner until they like call him into the scene.
What was it? That was this band I recently saw called Patriarchy. I met the drummer before the band, and he said his name at the merch booth. He was like, "Oh, I mean, my name is Drummer." And it's like it's the character he plays sort of in the band as this super submissive drummer, and because it's a band led by this like hypersexual woman who's like wearing next to nothing on stage. And the band is called Patriarchy, and they're acting almost like her slaves on stage. The two men in the band with her. It's pretty funny. Cool theatric band. Worth seeing.
It's a good, probably a good live show.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't find myself listening to the music when I'm alone, but the live show is like, wow, that's a theatrical band. That's a show to see.
That's a really like unique.
The music is good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They're good. They've been a band for a long time, and she was a musician before this, but whatever, different tastes.
Yeah, I've seen like I saw a pop band once at Sleeping Village, and like not something I would ever seek out on my own, but seeing it live, it was really impressive. It was like they're an awesome band. The music is like just executed really well. You know, the show was great, even though it's not something I would have listened to just on my own.
Yeah, you
got to give credit where credit is due, you know. But yeah, bass players and drummers. I don't know, like I guess it must attract a certain type of person just because it's like we love music just as much as the next guy, but it's like I don't know.
I just can't play string instruments.
No.
I lack an exterior for that. When my dad was a guitar player, he tried to teach me guitar like 2 or 3 separate times, like in earnest when I was younger. He would make sure I would be like, I want to learn to play guitar, Dad. Come on, like, teach me to play guitar. So he'd give me one of his guitars, like, all right, I'm gonna make some chord charts for you. These are the first couple, 3 or 4 chords you learn. Work on those. Work on transitioning between those, and then we can work on scales. And I can when I pick up a guitar and mess around every now and then, I can dick around and do some arpeggiated stuff. It's not anything really. It was always hard for me to transition between chords like that, like the speed, which I see some of these jazz guys change chords like that, and their fingers are just over time they've practiced, muscle memory is there. I just could never get over that first hurdle. But drums is always something. Like I said, I started when I was like 4. My parents used to buy me those toy kits, and I would destroy within 6 months. And my dad told me later on, when I started playing seriously, that he said when you were younger, I put on records for you, like Zeppelin records or Who or Pink Floyd, whatever those bands were. He's like, you weren't playing the songs correctly, but I would watch you play, and you were able to figure out in your head where the 1s and 3s and the 2s and 4s were. When a new measure would start, you could hear it in your head, like the repetition of a verse or something like that. So you said at a young age you understood how music moved.
Right.
And I asked him, I was like, it's kind of funny story. Like I asked him, like, well, why didn't, like, if you saw that, why didn't you put me in the lessons? Like I could have been way more advanced, than I was,
Right, right.
15 or 16.
Well,
and he gave a great dad response to that though. So I asked him, I was like, why didn't you like get me in music lessons? Why didn't you foster that that gift or skill you saw in me? And he was like, well, you never showed interested in it. You wanted to play baseball and hockey all the time. So playing your drums is more like a kid. It was like playtime for a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old. You wanted to go out and practice baseball and hockey, so you go play baseball and hockey in the rec leagues that you were in. I was like, well, that's nice. You didn't, Dad didn't want to force me into something I didn't show any interest in other than a toy.
I don't. Yeah, I can't put myself in those shoes. I'm not a dad.
Yeah.
I wondered, about that kind of thing too. But I think that I wonder if your memory plays a part in why you chose your instrument too. I can't believe. I wonder how differently the brains work for different instruments, for different musicians in a band. That's a better way to say it. So I think, honestly, since we reconnected in the past couple of years, it's like your memory is astounding to me, the details you can remember. I wonder how much that comes into play in the music that you listen to, that you like, that you play. Like, how much is memory involved in your role, based on your instrument?
I think, like I said, it was more of just a dexterity thing. Like I could never really, it was easier for me to understand how 4 limbs work, opposed to one another, as it was like, 4 fingers.
Yeah.
I could never, it didn't make sense to me, or not so much didn't make sense. I couldn't figure out how someone changes, from a D to a C to an A chord,
Okay.
but I could figure out, how a left foot works incorporated with a hi-hat, and then, with a bass drum, and then with your 2 limbs, playing the rhythm on top of that. And when I first started, diving into the idea that you can play different rhythms at one time, at the same time with right hand and a left hand. It seemed to make sense to me. I seemed to, I was able to play, a 4/4 rhythm with my right hand, and then figure out that a 3/4 rhythm is just it's called counterpoint. It's 2 lines, opposing each other, playing different rhythms. And I could just I had to practice, of course. So I could just figure out though that a rhythm in 4 and a rhythm in 3 will always land, eventually.
Right.
Yeah.
They do have this.
So it's more, and then you internalize that. It's not like I'm sitting there counting that every single time I do it now. It's just practice.
Yeah.
You grab hold of it. You get an understanding of its foundation, then you build on that.
Yeah. If anything, like maybe it could be that like just playing music maybe helps with memory, because it is like it's. Like that's something I also think about, is like, oh, this is probably like,
That makes sense.
even if I don't make a living off of music, it's just like a good thing to have as like a hobby or an activity, because they say stuff like that, just kind of keeps your brain working.
It's like exercise for the brain.
Yeah.
It's that, or like or reading, or doing anything anything that requires focus. It's like you exercise your body, you can exercise your mind as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I got into chess over the past year.
Oh, cool. We should play sometime.
Do you play?
Yeah, I enjoy it. I'm not the best
I've gotten addicted to
I got pretty
chess.
decent. I've got a board. Maybe we can break it out after the show.
Okay, yeah.
My chess ability. I mean, like when I played chess as a kid, and I was never super good. But when Adam started getting into it, he's like, "Do you play chess?" I'm like, "Yeah, I used to play chess. I'm okay at it." First, and Adam got way into it. Like he was on chess.com and reading books and shit. I'm like,
Yeah.
I never read books. I just played games and lost a lot.
I think I beat Adam.
Learned a lot of technique from people I lost against.
I think I beat Adam like the first 2 or 3 times we played. Maybe I think I've won maybe 1 or 2 in the next 50 matches we played.
You stopped playing against me. Yeah, I remember.
And it's been a while since I played. Like I haven't gone on chess.com in a while. I have the app, but it's probably not going to be good if I play again.
I
haven't played for ages, so
if I sat down and started playing it on a regular basis, I could probably work my way up to it.
I don't recommend it. Like I've gotten hooked on it, and now it's become like a problem.
Yep.
Like
that's what it was for me too.
Like I sink so much time into it, because if you lose a game, you're like, well, now I have to play again.
Yep.
And then you win, and you're like, nice, let's get one more win in before I do.
Oh, you know what? You did tell me about that.
Have you ever been to a casino?
No,
don't go to
no,
a casino.
Yeah,
We just
exactly.
get one
I
more
would
win in.
never- Yeah,
Just
I would
one more
never-
win in, man.
I would never.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like I'm the wrong person for that.
One more game.
But that's the thing is like initially you're like, oh, this will be good. This will be good for my brain. It's like you know, that's what everybody talks about when they talk about the benefits of chess. But now I'm just like, this is just replaced. Like I got rid of social media a little while back, and I was like, this is just kind of replace that. Like this is what I spend my time doing.
Yeah.
Which is
definitely.
still better, I would say, but
In ways.
it's still not good. You know, like I need to find more productive things to do with my time.
Quit watching television. Quit watching YouTube videos. Just get back to who you are. Quit wasting your time on people like us.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a break.
And on that note, podcast is canceled.
All right.
And we're back.
Here goes nothing. Where's it?
Cue theme music.
Or something. Here goes something.
Thanks again, Paul.
That's the first.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that when could you say that you actually would mean that? When you say here goes nothing. Is that like
You can say that
when
anytime
you
during
go
the
to
day that
sleep
you're
or
not
something?
doing
Right before
Yeah.
you
There goes nothing.
yourself.
right before bed or
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you guys up to anything interesting during that break, or you just kind of over it?
No, just
I've been traveling. I mean, that's what I was saying off camera. But I mean, like
You're about to do more traveling.
I'm
too.
about to do a bit more. Yeah, it was funny because like when I first found out I was gonna have this time off,
Mhm.
I was like, oh, cool! Like it'll give me so much time to do music and I do some stone carving, and I wanted to put more time into that
I
again.
didn't know that.
Yeah, and
What do you mean? Like the
like relief carvings in stone. It's
Cool.
something I learned several years back, and I lived in Armenia for about a year, and it's a pretty big part of the culture there, stone carvings, and I met some guys who had a shop, and I became friends with them, and just I spent like my last three and a half months in that country just hanging out with those guys every day and like more or less apprenticing at their shop. But it was really just like they let me practice and they kind of guided me
cool.
in the right direction. And then yeah.
carve like-
I hear you pronouncing it Armenia. I'm used to hearing it Armenia, which is funny
Yeah,
It's
because
Armenia.
mania
Yeah.
is a different thing than
Armenia would be
so that you're like the Armeniacs.
the Armaniacs on the WB.
Yeah.
Yeah, every Saturday at 8.
You speak Armenian?
Very little. I learned to like I got to like a conversational level when I was living in the country, but then I didn't really practice it much when I moved back. I'm waiting for fucking Duolingo to put it on their app. So
I've heard
Get on
good
it.
things about that app and that system.
It's a pretty unique language, right? It's got kind of it's
got its own alphabet, yeah.
It's not connected to any kind of like Germanic or like or Slavic languages. It's kind of its own thing.
as far as I know, no, it isn't. I don't really I'm not very well versed on like the roots of other languages and whatnot, but Yeah, I don't think it falls into a larger family.
I think that like the Balkan area, and then like the Turkish language is pretty unique to itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like my parents speak Turkish because they were both born there.
Right.
So like I don't really know Turkish either, but I know like I'm just kind of familiar with the languages because I've heard it a lot growing up.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, with the free time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought I was going to do a lot of that. I was like, oh, I'm going to focus on music. I'm going to focus on maybe stone carving, but then like I ended up having like a bunch of little random traveling that was also part of this time, and it's just sort of hard to get into a workflow when you're like only home for like a week or so, and then you're going back out again.
Sure.
But I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to kind of take it as it comes, enjoy myself. I'm still playing music, so I'm staying occupied with that.
That's important.
Yeah. And
or I think it is anyway. Maybe it's not. I've been wrong before.
I mean, I'm going to say yeah. For me it is.
Good.
You know, like it's all I've got right now. Like, you know, it's...
Do you have any more shows coming up?
Yeah, so I leave on January 15th to go to South America, and then on January 13th I have a show with one of the groups that I play with.
What are they called?
Emily Woods.
Emily Woods is the name of the group, or is it the front person?
It's both. She's the lead singer. It's her original music.
Uh-huh.
And she's billed as E Woods.
How is she? Is she any good?
She's an amazing singer, yeah. And I think
Or you'd say that.
she sucks. Yeah, it's not very good. I wouldn't go see it. No, she's a fantastic singer. I enjoy playing in that band. Like it's been a fun learning experience because it's like modern R&B. That's the best way I could describe it. And it's not necessarily a genre that I've been super involved with.
Yeah.
But playing with her, it's, you know, kind of like expanded my scope a bit, and it's been a lot of fun, you know. That's kind of what was nice about it, was like it's good to play in a band of a genre that you're maybe not too familiar with, because that's how you get better, right? It's like
that's crazy.
It's like understanding
I've never heard that.
Understanding what you need to be for this band, you know. Because there are so many different ways to play bass, right?
Yeah.
You know, like I know bass players who are really, really riffy, and they could probably front a band on their own if they wanted to.
Les Claypool.
Yeah, sure. And it's like, think about the stuff that Les Claypool creates, you know, just like bizarre, like funhouse,
crazy stuff,
like twisted carnival music.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, but then
great.
it's like that. You need to be a type of bass player to do that type of music. Mm-hmm. But then there's a whole spectrum of styles, and it's fun. Like, it's just fun to explore them.
Yeah.
So I have a show with them on January 13th.
Okay.
And then January 12th.
Where is the show?
I don't know.
Okay, that's good.
I'm a really bad bass player right now. Sorry,
that's
guys.
Fine. And her name again?
E Woods. You
E.
can look it
Woods.
up online.
How do you spell that? E?
E. Woods.
Like the letter E?
The letter E for Emily.
I see.
And then, on the 12th, I'm filling in for a buddy's band, or for his bass player, and we're going to play a show at the Burlington. And it's fun.
I haven't been there for a while.
Yeah, me neither. It's
That's
been
the
a long
bar
time.
over on like California and Chicago.
It's on Fullerton.
Fullerton.
Yeah.
Okay, probably think of a different spot.
So yeah, like their bass player recently just wanted to take a break from music. So he reached out to me and asked if I could fill in, and I was like, I've got the time. So
how do you learn new songs like that? How long does it take to learn new songs?
That's a good question. I couldn't give you like an exact time frame, but
yeah,
the
everything's
way
different, I guess.
yeah, the way I do it basically is I'm lucky in that he has all of these songs recorded already.
Okay.
You know, so I can just listen to the recordings and play along with them.
Yeah.
And then and then I take little notes just to kind of remind myself, like the kind of bare bones of the song, like the chord progressions.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of repetition, right? It's like I try to at least we've got time until the show, so I don't really need to cram. It's not going to be a huge set. It's just a matter of like every day or every other day, take a minute to just run through the songs again and get more and more familiar with them, because the more you do that, you won't have to look at your notes as much. It'll just become kind of second nature, you know. And then what's also good about it is you can then start to add your own flair to it, if you will. You know, like, what do I think would sound cool here? You know? Because that's a little tough, because like when you listen to a song that's already been recorded and there is already a bass line, it's sort of hard to come up with something different, because you're like, there's already a bass line for this song, so like that's where my brain keeps going. But you know, that's kind of also the fun of it, right? It's like, okay, now I know how the song goes. What do I think would be cool to like layer into this track? So yeah, time frame, I don't know, but it's just a matter of like, you do a few like exploratory missions where you're just listening to the tracks and like, just like, okay, like let's get into this mindset. And then you do like an active listen through where like you have your instrument with you. You are trying to follow along and then just get an idea of like, what key is the song in? What's the chord progression? Are there any like weird riffs or stops? So yeah.
You play the pick or fingers primarily?
For bass, it's with my fingers, you know, because like I guess I was playing guitar first, and the type of guitar that I learned on was a classical guitar, like a nylon string. So I don't really play a lot of electric guitar. I play primarily classical guitar, just stuff like self-taught stuff, you know.
Right.
So bass was like kind of a sort of natural transition, because it was still that idea of using your fingers to play the strings rather than a pick. But I'm open to using a pick. Like when I was younger, I was just like, bass, you have to play it with your fingers. You don't play bass with a pick. Like that's wrong, or it's stupid, you know. And I've moved away from that since, because it's all about getting different sounds out of your instrument, right? So it's like, you can get a cool sound with a pick that you can't get with your fingers, and sometimes that's what you want, you know. But ultimately, like, it's more comfortable for me to use my fingers. Like it's more, you feel more connected.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna take your word for all of that.
I'm gonna read one of these cards.
Sure.
What is something you pretend to know about, and why?
Music.
There it is. Yeah.
Oh
man.
It's a good question.
I disagree. I'm kidding, of course.
I tend to usually try to shut
I've
up.
answered that one enough times.
I tend to usually shut up when I don't really understand something.
Yeah?
And then there's enough stuff I'm ignorant about.
That's a rare quality.
I find myself like starting to contribute sometimes to topics of conversation but then like in the middle of it, I'm like, I don't actually know, you know? So it's like,
It's more of a learning thing. Yeah. I'll get the 2% out that I do know about, and then I'll, you know, try and draw in the rest of it as much as I can.
I am trying to follow that model though, where it's like, if I don't know, I just say I don't know and leave it at that, instead of trying to be like, well, I think it's this.
Not everyone likes hearing those words.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess.
It's a great response to ultimately anything. I mean, it's...
People would probably rather hear, let's find out. Or like, so,
let's find out. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay, that's
like,
not together. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I think
in a perfect world, when people, when people are as, what would that even be?
What?
To have that characteristic, what would it be like?
Exploratory.
Sure. Yeah.
A go-getter.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when people ask
I'm a
me
driver,
something,
not a passenger.
Yeah.
It's what character
I'm the bass
cliche
player.
is that? Yeah.
Yeah, when people ask me something, I just say I don't care, and then I walk away.
I used to say that.
Yeah, if there's a
lot
topic
more.
on something. What are you guys talking about? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'm going to bounce from this convo.
It's wise. Wise stance.
All right. Let's do it. I like these. This is fun. Oh, this is weird. But topical. What were the holidays like for you growing up?
Interesting. Here we go.
They were
I have been wondering.
pretty normal. I guess it was, let's go with Christmas since we were around there. Yeah, it was just usually it was planned in advance. One family member would host it. So my dad's side of the family's from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
He was born and raised out here, so I spent a lot of time out here, even though I'm from the suburbs.
Yeah.
And my mom's from California, so every other year we'd fly out to California and do Christmas out there.
Nice.
And it was
Did you? Okay.
pretty normal. They get stereotypical Christmas celebration you see on TV. The trees up, the lights are all around, everyone's throwing presents around.
Did you ever stop doing Christmas during that time where you were, we met, I believe, because my parents were giving your mother a Bible study.
She didn't. No, we still always did the
Is
Christmas
that how we
thing.
met?
What?
Yeah, I think somewhere. Yeah, like that. Yeah,
Whoa.
And I would come over and play with your Robin Hood
yeah. The Robin Hood
action
figurines.
figures.
Yeah, the Kevin Costner one.
Yeah.
The Prince of Thieves.
The
that's
good
what
was
it's
the
called.
best one. Really
Kevin
the only,
Costner what?
really the only Robin Hood.
Oh, Robin.
Yeah, the Robin.
Robin. I thought you said Batman, and I was like,
motion picture.
Kevin Costner Batman.
Yeah,
What?
he's a Batman.
I mean,
he's in between.
there's
Val Kilmer
time.
and George Clooney.
There's time.
Yeah. He's gonna play like an older Batman.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, nothing too interesting on that. It's pretty.
So you never skipped Christmas.
No,
Okay. I've never
Always
asked
did
you
the
that.
Christmas,
so I'm
Easter
glad that
thing.
question came up.
always did the Christmas and Easter thing.
Okay, this I like more. Is there anything too serious to be joked about? The answer is no.
I think that's just
Not if you're smart.
I
If you're not smart, then yeah, plenty of stuff because you'll just hurt feelings and nothing more. But if you're smart, if you're clever, then you'll come up with creative ways to broach topics that are typically like sad or something, and then usually wind up just needing a moment of levity to kind of give you the scale of experience again. So I think that if you're smart enough, then no, nothing's too serious to joke about.
I think it's just you shouldn't be like chastised for wanting to find the humor in a situation.
No.
You know, like I can see. Of course, there are there's a certain place and time where it just might not be the right time to do it. But I would say most of the time it's like it's okay. Like as long as you're not trying to like upset the other person, and it's really more about your intention, right? If you're just trying to make them laugh, then it's like whatever, you know. Just
I think there's a pretty clear line in humor of just telling a lighthearted joke, no matter what the topic is, and then there's sometimes where jokes can be the jokes themselves are intentionally meant to. You tell the joke to someone else who was just not in it doesn't belong to that particular group or sect or genre of people, and it's basically a joke to mock another.
Then we've got edgelords, right?
Mercilessly. I don't think
that
there's
term
anything
came from, isn't it?
I don't think you should be punished for anything like
You
that.
don't know
I
about
think
edgelords?
sometimes you can be. There's dick moves, but again, ultimately, I don't think it's. I'm not advocating people to be punished.
I don't know.
That's one of the.
Edgelords
I think
are people who ride the
everything.
fence
I think
between-
almost
yeah.
everything should be made fun of. To an extent.
It all deserves to be.
Yeah. Like it's
obviously.
it's more fun to laugh about a situation. Like I don't know. I love how we're talking about like humor and that we've been. This has been like mostly a pretty unfunny podcast, but we're like, let's talk about our opinions on humor and joking.
It's good. I think that people first we had to earn the respect of ourselves, and then we can bring out the humor.
Yeah.
I can't find it yet, but it'll come out eventually.
All right, next question. Moving on.
Let's see.
Can violence ever be justified? And no, I don't. I'm sorry. I don't like that one.
Violence justified? What a
He goes,
boring
can violence
question. I know.
ever be justified in what circumstances? When you're Batman. When you're Kevin Costner playing Batman. That's the answer.
That's a good answer.
Wow. Batman never kills. See?
I mean, until he does.
He's got an
and when he does, he kills well.
When he does, yeah, it's awesome. And they were totally asking for it.
Isn't that one of Batman's tenets, though? He never kills. I mean, no killing.
No,
Yeah.
he kills in the movies, plenty.
Yeah, he does.
Kills in just about every movie.
He has like a
would
ship
say,
that
yeah.
just like shoots like artillery rounds at people.
Yeah.
Somebody's dying.
I would venture to say he's accidentally killed civilians in movies off camera more times than he's killed villains.
It's not
in
okay to joke
movies.
about that, Adam.
Yeah. That dude.
I think the odds are high that somebody, when
This
those
is-
collapsing
you know
buildings, that he drives his giant
Giant
Batmobile
tank
out
like
of.
fucking.
Odds are
Across
pretty high that
rooftops,
someone
yeah.
was crossing the street.
Some guy getting out of work as an insurance salesman. Man,
Yeah.
he was a lousy. Then a piece of
Just-
shingles
just
flips off and cracks.
Just
into-
off out of the camera's frame. Definitely happens.
We don't talk about it, Adam. That's not funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a triggering
Yeah.
conversation.
All right.
Speaking of being triggered, name one thing that makes you nervous or uncomfortable and explain why.
Nervous or uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Most
I like that
things.
question. Most things?
Maybe I should name what doesn't make me nervous or uncomfortable.
Being filmed. Being filmed
filmed.
on it
That makes you
and
nervous and
interviewed.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Being
being,
with someone
being
for the first
recorded,
time.
yeah, while people ask me questions.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I got high at a party last night. We talked about that. That made me. I got
that can be
uncomfortable, and I was just like,
uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's a danger. That's a dangerous move.
I get nervous or uncomfortable right when I'm. This kind of ties into an earlier topic. If I'm in front of people that seem to think they know everything that they're talking about all the time, and they have such a strong opinion about things. And I hear them say things that are incorrect, it just rather than correct them and be a dick myself, I'm just like, ugh, I just get squeamish. I'm like, I want to get out of this conversation. Go somewhere else.
I get nervous or uncomfortable when I've talked to someone who I don't want to be talking to for too long.
Yeah.
Let's specifically deal with that one of the long list of things that make me nervous and uncomfortable. I think that I try to give nonverbal cues when I'm talking with someone who I don't want to be talking to, and they typically don't pick up on them. So that's something I need to get better at. Is
Or they
being
do.
more obviously uncomfortable.
non-verbal.
And they
cues.
realize they realize this,
I
and they're
need
like,
to
"Oh,
become
I'm
better at eliciting sympathy from people who are boring.
Sympathy
And-
for you,
yes.
or they're just like,
Yes.
look,
Where
man,
they're like,
I'm
"All right,
sorry,
I
I'm
get
so
it. This is
boring, but I really need somebody to talk to.
I think that, yeah. But
Boring
they
people are
typically
uncomfortable to
typically
talk to.
people just lean into the conversation when I'm like, you can't see that my breath is quickening, and and like.
so when
just
people
making
are boring,
something
you
up.
hyperventilate.
Yeah. No, it's like it's like a puppy.
you go into a
clearly
really
audible.
Yeah.
Beads of like 8 beads of sweat coming down. You know, that nice.
Like, oh, it's
form
really
pattern on the
interesting. It's
forehead.
fascinating. No, I think I just assume that they can read my mind in those moments, and I need to find ways to make it more clear that I need to exit a conversation like that, or I don't think there is a way. You just have to find your way out through words. I don't think that there's a way to elicit that kind of self.
You have to make it seem
What
like
is that? It's not self-awareness. Maybe it would be like self-consciousness, like trying to make someone else self-conscious while you're using your body language to be like, I don't want to talk to you right now. Like it's not the kindest thing. Maybe using
Right.
words is the
Which is-
only thing to do.
Yeah.
Which would that in itself makes it uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The
So
idea
it's
that
a
you know
major
it's not-
confrontation to do the simple act of leaving a conversation. That needs to become a confrontation. All right, I could see that. That could be an issue with a therapist when I find one.
What? How to get out of conversations?
Yeah. Well, I could deal with that in therapy.
You know what was hard
We
was
don't have to deal
quitting
with that.
therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I find it hard.
that
to
was
start.
That was an awkward thing for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't want to do it anymore, but I didn't know how to bring it up.
Did you think that you found the answers that you were seeking, and that was why you quit, or was it the individual?
No, it was to save money.
Yep.
So actually, that's
Pretty
the only thing. That's the
understandable.
only thing that made it easier. I was just like, hey, I can't afford this, so today's the last time. Bye.
Hey, that's pretty good. That's an easy out.
Were you worried about it that there was like attempting to rope you back in with psychological trickery?
No, not even that. It was just like, I'll say this in hindsight.
Well, you tend to do this.
yeah. Repeating a lot of bad
we
behavior.
discussed this, Krikor.
But yeah, like
This is why you need to come back.
in hindsight, I feel bad because I felt like I should have given him like a 2 weeks notice because that's what you do at a job, you know.
Yeah.
But I literally just like.
But you're paying him. You're the employer.
I know, yeah, that's true. This is your last day at work. Pack up your desk.
Funny. Yeah.
And then it's him questioning, why don't I get 2 weeks notice? That's how it goes.
I don't know. I don't know if I got the answers I needed. I think I'll say like for me, what I benefited from with therapy was just, I guess, having like a sounding board.
Yeah.
You know, just being able to like say things as honestly as I felt them, because it was somebody who was like not connected to anybody else in my life.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, there were a lot of moments where like he would give me advice and I'd be like, yeah, like I know, you know, like I've heard this before. Like the advice isn't what I'm looking for. It's I don't do the things that you're telling me to do. Like, how do we fix that behavior? You know, like, I don't know.
You guys seen the Netflix documentary, the newer one with
get there.
that Jonah Hill made? It's called Stutz. It's about his.
I haven't
watched it.
No.
But you're aware of it.
I know about it. Yes.
It's really good.
Maybe the audience doesn't know about it, so we can give a nice plug to that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll put it up.
He needs the money, dude.
This is for Netflix.
Let's put up
Netflix, this is
Jonah
for
Hill's
you.
Instagram handle.
But he made an interesting comment like towards the beginning of the documentary. He was like far too often with other therapists. He was talking to Phil Stutz, his therapist, and he was like, you pay your therapist to listen to you, and then you're talking to your friends, trying to get solicit advice from them, but your friends are idiots. So really what you're trying to look for is you want your therapist to give you advice and you want your friends to listen, which was I thought was interesting.
I agree with that because I definitely have found myself in situations where it's like I have some friends where sometimes you just want to tell them a story.
Yeah.
But the second you like start telling the story and then like a conflict arises, like that's just like part of your story, they're just like, well, why didn't you do this? Or why didn't you do that? And you're like, that's not why I'm talking to you about this. It's like there's a joke somewhere in here I wanted to get to, and now you're making it about why I didn't like do the right thing, and this story sucks now. It's like,
Well, that's the beauty of friends. They do ruin everything.
But with therapy, it was like I remember when I first started, like I was kind of vocalizing to somebody that I was like, I don't know, can't seem to really tell like if I'm getting anything out of this, and they're like, well, you have to do the work. And I was like, what does that mean? I'm paying him to do the work, like,
or at least to explain what work it is you need to do.
Yeah.
And I guess far too often that's not the case. The therapists just sit there for the hour, listen to your problems, then say, all right, time's up, see you next week. That's $600.
Yeah. What was that question? Things that make you uncomfortable?
Yes.
Let's see.
Playing music in front of people.
Yeah? Oh man, I can't imagine. That's got to be difficult.
There's always
I've always been too afraid to do that.
There's always been like a tiny
Gotta
bit
be
of nerve
difficult.
involved in that.
Seems
At least
terrifying.
when you're starting out, whatever project you're doing, the first couple of times you get out there, no one knows you, or they're not there to see you, so they don't give a shit. They'd be there anyway.
Yeah.
So they're kind of looking at you like, all right, impress me, or they're not even paying attention.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you're a comedian.
Right.
Tell me something funny.
Yeah.
And it's like I got nothing. Like, I meant it kind of as a joke, but honestly, like part of what's nice about being a bass player is like that pressure isn't really on you ever when you're playing a show.
Yeah, it's probably the least looked at on the stage.
Nice.
They usually shove him in the back with a drummer. Hang over there.
Yeah, he's in the sound booth. He's just playing direct into the PA.
He's off stage.
Yeah.
He's in the crowd somewhere playing. Nobody notices.
He's in the green room.
There are certain bands. I can't. There's certain bands that have musicians that play off stage for nerves.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
That's weird. Just put a mask on or something.
You know the Mars
that
Volta-
helps.
right?
Or an elf costume.
Yeah, put a bag
was
over
the,
your yeah, or an elf costume.
It was the original sound manipulator from Mars Volta. You
Oh,
remember
okay,
them?
yeah.
There's this guy Jeremy Michael Ward was the original guy. His title was sound manipulator, but he had like a pedal board with delay effects and everything that he would use to create sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And he always played. He was always off the stage, behind stage left or stage right, and he would just sit back there and do his shit while the rest of the band was on stage. I think it was a nerve thing.
That's so
It's pretty
interesting.
funny. Didn't Jim
I think
Morrison used to face or his back? Yeah, his back to the crowd.
Miles Davis always did that. He always played his back to the crowd.
Yeah, I remember.
I don't think his was out of like nervousness or fear. I think it was just it helped him concentrate more. I don't think he liked people very much in the first place.
I don't remember who was telling me this about being afraid of playing in front of a crowd being a trait of being like a. I mean, not always, obviously, but being a possible trait of narcissism by people who have the desire to control others' perception of them at all times. And being on stage is making it so you cannot control their perception of you. You're totally laid bare.
Oh, so it's like you don't want to do it because you're going to put yourself in a vulnerable situation?
Yeah. I don't remember where that conversation happened years ago for me, but I remember that coming up, and it's kind of making me think a little bit. Wondering about that.
Yeah.
Wondering what that trait is specifically, how to avoid, that desire to try to control perception of you, rather than just kind of let it happen and not care what people think or something like that. I don't know. For the sake of the thing that you're making, I don't know where I'm going with this word salad, but.
I mean, playing music can be like a humbling experience at times because I've eaten shit on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. and it's like you just don't want to be seen afterwards because you're just like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is probably more than half the time nobody could tell or notice.
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of
that makes
that
sense.
where it's stuff that
true.
people probably didn't notice.
It's
But
always-
even when it is,
you know the truth. You know that you had a bad night, so it's it's hard to hold that in. You're just pushing it. Your mentality and your disposition is projecting that.
Mhm.
What's wrong with him? You have a bad night? Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He's not gonna sit around and talk about it.
But yeah, it's I guess it's it is a good lesson because it's just well, that's you're gonna just try again next time, I did have a show once. This was hilarious. I had a show once where this band that I played with, one of the songs I had a solo in it and on bass, and I had this shitty distortion pedal that I would use because I thought that would be cool, and I have my amp hooked up to the PA. It's like a direct in line. And I didn't test my pedal. I tested my pedal just out of my amp, but when he hooked the PA into it, I didn't test the pedal. So that we're playing our set, and it comes to that song. It comes to my solo. I turn the pedal on, and it was just ear-piercing, static distortion. You couldn't hear any of the notes I was playing. It was just a constant loud. When you switch to one of the white channels on a TV or the where you don't get any reception, it was that noise, full volume, the whole bar. I remember seeing one of my band members' dad, his dad was in the audience, and I remember seeing his face, and he was just just so upset. And then,
that would have broke me there.
and then I also was too I was too paralysed in that moment to just turn the pedal off and just finish the solo without it. I just finished the solo with this this shit sound coming out of the speakers. You couldn't hear what I was playing. And then I was just okay, not doing that again.
Trial and error.
Well, so that's when you stopped playing music.
Yeah, and that's when I quit.
I never touched the bass guitar again. They've been asking me for years.
Yeah, exactly.
I choose not to play.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, interesting. Share one positive characteristic about each person in this group.
Gross.
Yeah.
You're both gross.
Oh, that's the character. Oh, nice. Thanks.
That's not, well, all right. I'm gonna find something positive out of that.
That's not true. Come on.
You already said it, man. It's already out.
I think. Well, now that I've been the one who's talking, I have to think of something.
Yeah.
I have the thing.
I think all three of our abilities to see
Your
on top of
eyebrows.
a conversation.
What a characteristic.
Thanks.
I'm really
That's
struggling with
awesome.
those suckers.
I love getting compliments on my eyebrows.
Yeah, it really.
That just made my day.
The brows, and it's just what a characteristic.
Yeah.
It's a defining feature. If I were a caricature artist, which
This is how I've gotten hired most of the time.
which
is
I
my
am
eyebrows.
in some ways.
I really hope you
So
have the
thanks.
eyebrows in the painting, just like two big caterpillars on my forehead.
Well, it's not that. There's something about the brow ridge, and
the
like it.
furrowed brow.
no, it's just a character. There's something in the character. It's in the eyes. That's how you
It's
know.
in the eyes. That's how you know you
a villain
can't,
when
you
you
can't
meet one.
trust this guy.
Yeah. I think, I'm specifically painting them right now, so I'm focusing on them and talking about them.
Mhm.
I'm wondering how much I need to just back off. Just let them be brows they were born to be. You know?
Yeah.
Okay, anyhow.
Anyhow.
That's one thing I've noticed. Matt, I'm going to notice about you that
I also have very defined brows.
I'd mentioned. I wouldn't call them that.
Not harsh.
I'm sorry. No, I'm
Plentiful,
sorry.
bushy. Just go with one.
Again, real jokester, can't quit joking. It's a real problem. I think that, like I've mentioned a couple times in this episode, your memory is like unparalleled to like almost anyone I've met. And I think that it really highlights
Considering the amount of weed
how bad mine is.
I've had
to me,
a third thing. I consider I smoked a lot of pot in college, especially
Right.
around that
which
that-
is crazy.
around that
So
area.
there must be some kind of
I think the
genetic
only part of my
predisposition,
brain,
or
I think the only part of my brain that blew out was the Star Wars knowledge I used to have. When I was a kid, in junior high, I watched all the Star. I had like the books. I knew like where all the minor characters, what planets they were from, and the weapons they used, and who their parents were. And it was either that or just the fact I stopped caring. But yeah, I can't delve too deep into Star Wars anymore.
well,
Yeah.
that's fine.
So as a joke, I just say that must be the part that my, smoking so much weed in college blew out.
I think your brain probably was like, none of this information. is
It must have been
important.
like they were Rolodex, and the brain was doing its own Rolodex, and it was like,
It's like
oh, this Star Wars shit.
clean. Yeah, we can throw some of this shit.
Yeah.
out. It's like learning, like it's like comic book stuff. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
this character was that character's dad, and it's like nobody cares. It's not relevant information.
I did at least for a little while, and I know a lot of other people that do still.
No, like I'm saying that because it's like that was something for me too. It's like I used to get into that stuff,
Right.
but then like that world, for example, comic books is like there's so much storytelling and all these like crazy little like details,
Universes, right?
Yeah,
Separate
yeah, and
universes.
then, like-
when they get new writers, even.
Yeah, and then it's just like at some point it just becomes hard to keep up with all of it, And then you're like, it's like getting really good at Guitar Hero. You're like, I learned all this stuff, but it's not applicable in the real world at all. I guess we've got big Guitar Hero fans here in the room.
Well,
I've touched a nerve.
I think I've only played Guitar Hero like maybe 2 or 3 times. Again,
Yeah,
the dexterity thing.
I think so.
Whether it's strings or buttons, it wasn't going to work for me.
Yeah, it wasn't for me. I would rather. Yeah, I liked the shooting games, I guess.
Yeah, pretty good at other video games.
Mm-hmm.
If I choose to play them.
All Right.
I haven't played many video games at all.
I'm glad that-
in a recent time.
I'm glad that we didn't choose to go to each of us for the compliments. That was a really uncomfortable moment for me.
Yeah, that was a bad question. This deck, a lot of duds in this deck. I'm not gonna lie.
Of course. I think that it's coming time
These are
where
terrible questions.
I need to make my own deck.
How do you?
And I've been kind of considering how I'm going to do that. I can field questions.
That would be a fun game.
I want to have dark, light, and gray kind of questions. I want to have questions based on like life aspirations, like romance, adventure, play, and then questions based on work and study and spirituality and like it's like I think it's going to be more interesting to have those kinds of conversations than a lot of these cards try to hammer in like social issues.
Yeah, what makes you unique? Stupid.
That's
It's not
yeah.
interesting.
Nobody cares.
There's
Yeah.
no thought in that question. I think the vast majority of people aren't unique. I think we give ourselves too much credit sometimes.
Yeah, I mean,
Right,
I kind
yeah,
of
I agree
agree
with
with
that.
that too. That's what social media did. Was it's just like everybody is sharing their life and they think it matters and like they're trying to find ways to like stick out.
But it's not a real. It's so few people. It's not a real depiction of their life. It's,
Not even close.
It's been filtered so many times.
I'm glad that I got a little bit away from social media and like as far as sharing my personal life went, I'm getting a little bit more comfortable doing that again recently, but only because I recognize that like that's what people have been using this for all along. I've just been trying to sell paintings. So like that's actually how people communicate with each other now. That's why the algorithm, algorithms don't
totally
work in my
not-
favor
it's-
because I'm a creator and I'm trying to put content up, not just look for community engagement based on whether or not I'm perceived as good or good enough.
Yeah.
And I think that sort of switch in my head recently went off where I realized that, everyone's just using social media for its purpose that it was, possibly originally created for. Now it's something else entirely.
Wait, what do you think it was originally created for?
To be a social construct in a way, or not construct, to be a town square, to be a place where people could come together and actually talk about life.
Right.
Now we're products that are being...
Yeah.
Our attention is a product that's being sold to organizations, corporations, and businesses as in the form of like advertising revenue.
I think that was
So I think that like that's what it is now.
Yeah.
Because it has shareholders and it's a public company and it's traded stocks and
It's a war for
I
your
think
mind.
I think that was their
so
goal
no, that's
long
all-
before
that's
it
all
got to
it
that
is.
point. Also, in the collect as much as your data as they can.
yeah. I
So
mean,
that'd be-
well, anyhow,
It's another way.
They can
I see
have
that
it.
I see that people
I got nothing interesting.
civilization or society has not necessarily caught on to that in the same way that other people in society have, and the larger part of society is still using it as though it's this sort of self-expression tool to connect with
Yeah.
peers and loved ones and their network. They don't
Yeah.
they often don't realize that their reach is being capped off at who is perceived as finding them interesting based on sort of maybe sometimes arbitrary information like if the person has liked their posts or not, but you can't base some relationships on that specific of a criteria. Like someone who I like a lot might post something that winds up in my feed. I scroll past it because I'm at work or in a bad mood. They're no longer visible to me because I didn't like their pictures
dead.
often enough. So they're dead.
Sorry. Yeah.
They die, and our relationship is affected because of an algorithm.
I mean, as someone who's
And-
never even used it, it's just so bizarre to me that nowadays that's
That's commonplace.
That's
the
an
way it
impetus,
functions.
for two people that were once friends to disconnect over. I didn't get enough likes from you. I put up the 4 pictures last month. I didn't get one from you.
Right. Yeah.
It was a problem.
You
now.
like my pictures? Because I'm at work. We're like, I'm on the toilet. I don't think about this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just passing time. But I like you. You know, I like that you're doing well.
I mean, I think.
But I didn't like your picture.
Yeah.
Whoops. Sorry. I like you.
Yeah. Not good enough.
I know. Yeah. Forget that person forever.
Yeah.
You won't be shown their progress in life. You'll have to specifically seek them out. Otherwise, it's like, okay, this is. This is sort of a flawed device at this point.
Yeah, social media sucks. It's
Yeah.
stupid. I feel like I've heard so many people who actively have it talk about how they shouldn't have it.
I think the majority of people that have it say,
they're like, "Oh, this stuff's
terrible."
terrible.
It's an addiction for a lot of people.
I was saying something like a parallel of it. It's like, gotta limit my screen time. It's just like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like the same. It's the same thing. Like, I gotta limit how much pot I smoke. I gotta limit how much drink.
It's like
how much I drink every night. It's like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure one day psychiatrists will probably classify it in certain senses as an addiction.
I mean,
they already have.
Yeah, probably.
Of course they have and do, and it is.
It's
anything could be addicted.
It triggers the same part of the brain.
Be addicted to an individual.
Right.
It's not. That's a trait in a person, I believe, to be addictive, easily addicted to things, and to use things that bring you a certain chemical reward or response inappropriately. I think that's a characteristic of love, for instance.
through social media?
No, just generally speaking.
Oh.
The experience of love. I mean, how often is that used in addictive sort of way? It's more or less becoming addicted to a person chemically, and I think that anything can be that, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
So
online chess, I'm addicted.
Yeah.
Big problem.
Mm-hmm.
Not even that good at chess.
Probably not doing too much damage to you in your personal and social life. You play chess a little
it's
too.
just my nephew's my nephew's birthday. I'm just on my phone like, fuck, I lost again.
You're playing too much chess.
Throwing the phone across the room.
I don't know him that well, but if there's one thing I could say, that guy is addicted to chess.
How's that looking so far, man?
Are you allowed to comment on the progress of the painting?
The progress? No, you have to see it at the end. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the point to me. Is
it's what this whole pod is about, guys. It's about patience.
Yes, spelled with a T, not a C.
Patience.
Patience.
Okay.
These questions. Where did you get?
I got that at the Museum of Contemporary Art.
Ah.
And
sounds like a terrible museum.
Well, I mean, it more or less is. It's a museum of
if this is what they're handing
museum
out.
of state-sponsored art.
I've been there like 2 or 3 times.
I mean, who's buying those pieces? It's really just grant money that's going into making most of the stuff that comes to museums like that. So, it's not like we've all collectively agreed that's the best stuff out there.
Have you ever like taken your paintings to like local art shows? Because I know like.
What do you mean?
Well, just like more underground shit, like people who I know, like
I
Slippery Slope. Do you know, like the bars?
But I find that typically things like that are more just about community coming together, finding a place to party, and
What's wrong with that?
No, but I mean, I put a lot of hours into this and a lifetime of discipline and education, so I want to get more from it than from that. I'd like it to pay my phone bill,
Sure. At least a phone bill.
Yeah.
And work your way.
At the very least.
How did you go about getting your work in that? What was that gallery called?
Very Serious Gallery.
Yeah, Very Serious Gallery.
I worked with Alan for 8 years or something like that. He was my business manager for a good 6 years.
Alan?
Something. Yeah, Alan Weinberger, the owner of the gallery.
Weinberger.
Yeah, he
Delicious.
he moonlighted as an art dealer and kind of project coordinator. I don't know what to call that because he coordinated so many different murals and like so much public art for different artists with brands and things like that, like the Cubs and White Sox and Bulls and stuff too. And
Oh, okay.
so he's not just he was doing that stuff before he got the gallery, and since he got the gallery, he's really more focused on the shows and harbor and community around the kind of art that he shows and works with, and that's
Cool.
That's good. So we met when I was sharing a studio in the Flatiron Building with this artist, this woman, good friend, Lisa Carter, and he was taking some painting classes from Lisa, and he sort of saw promise in me, and he knew that I was, gunning to go and study in Norway with this painter who I felt was my favorite living painter in the world, and he helped me to make that possible, and in just different ways, finding commissions, finding parties for me to do live art at. So we worked together pretty much in like the early development stages of my taking this career seriously. He stopped working at Google and opened the gallery this year. So we've taken steps sort of away from our model of business, and I'm more independent now. He's really trying to grow something in a totally different way than when he was my personal business manager.
Okay.
So that's the history of Alan and I. Yeah. He's been a mentor who's changed my life more than almost anybody.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyhow, was that your question? Or did I just kind of dance around for a while?
Yeah.
I think
I don't remember what I asked you.
maybe you were asking about the community shows that are sort of like
No, I was asking like how you got it, how you got your paintings at that gallery, like what led to that. So
Yeah.
I guess you did answer that question.
okay, yeah, great.
The former Google employee turned art
Turned
crusader.
gallerist, yeah. Turned art martyr. Or you could just say martyr because it's got the word art in it already.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Can't spell.
Can't spell martyr without art.
You also can't spell fart.
That's also true.
Yeah.
Or shart for
That's
that
where
matter.
she came from.
I tried to resist. Didn't
Oh
work.
God. You are very smart.
This
But
is
you also cannot spell without. Mm-hmm.
Without art. Smart art. Art is smart.
Oh, we're back to the top. Dang.
Already?
Yeah. Well, I was skimming through.
Yeah. None of those
Um,
seem too engrossing.
I'm
Wait.
close here, you guys.
Do you have like people lined up that you're excited to play with, or are you just kind of focusing on your own
There's
stuff?
a couple. There's a guy I worked with that's really into like electronics and synthesizers that I just started getting involved with. Maybe seriously, like about a year and a half ago. I bought a few. I was able to extract a good amount of use out of them, but I need to get better at that. Our friend Jamie is expressed some mild interest in what like I said, it's more of like
He'll
getting
be
the
on
right people
tomorrow
together.
too.
Getting the right people together, and then getting in a room. It would help. The more influences, the better. And then, like I said, playing, and then seeing what comes about out of
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Just
seeing
like
where
getting a feel for the chemistry in the room.
Right. The idea. I think I'm trying to treat this more as like a project than like a group or a band.
Okay.
I don't have any. I don't have any desire to be like the leader or the person that started this thing. I want it to be as democratic as possible, which is it'll probably throw some monkey wrenches into the gears every now and then. But the idea is to put forth some earnest, honest work in there and see what comes out. And like I said, if everybody's on the same page in that manner, then something will come out. Like I said, as many influences as I hope we'll all have together, something will blend together at some point.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be able to latch onto something and say, there should be, it's like a lot of the best bands that I like have a central sort of like a tenet or a theme to them, or like just a message, or whether it's they want to showcase their level of musicianship, or they want to showcase that they want to shine a light on social issues or political issues, or whatever it is. There's usually like a nucleic bonding that project is for. We're gonna use this to push forward something else.
Yeah.
Underneath the surface.
Okay.
And it's just it's I think the same thing can be said for painters or sculptors or chefs or anything like that. Is there should be a ideally there should be a central idea or a central theme that we're trying to put some light on, or just put out on display. You'll see it. Maybe they pick it up. Maybe they don't. At least there's something that could be interpreted from it.
Yeah.
Okay. How many more minutes will this take? What's your guess?
I don't know.
I think just a couple.
Do you have to repaint that whole painting again for this picture?
Yeah, it took a long time too, so
Jeez.
get comfortable.
You should just take a picture of this with no people,
Mm-hmm.
and then print that out, and then paint the people into the background.
I could paint on top of the
save
print
you a
even.
lot of time. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm doing this. I could just also be
You should just take a photo of us.
taking a photo or using an AI generated app.
Oh, have you seen those the AI generated images?
Generated
I've
images.
seen
That's
how some art galleries are giving that credence. Like these people, they're not even artists, but they type in a few keywords.
Oh,
And then it
doesn't-
generates this. Did you
It
read
doesn't
this?
matter so much.
There was an article recently where I guess a couple months ago, they had some art show in somewhere California or the West Coast or somewhere, where the winner of this art contest was a guy who had an AI program, typed in a few, maybe a dozen keywords.
Yeah, what did he win? $200.
And
That was totally not. That was not worthy. Not newsworthy.
Well,
That's
the idea was
ridiculous.
that he
Yeah.
won this contest, and all these other artists were like, he didn't put any work into this.
Yeah.
It's not a painting. It was just a computer generated it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two factions where there's the the old school artists that still do it.
And then there are the nihilists.
I mean, I heard that
They believe in nothing.
It's a good
Yeah.
tool. Like let's say if you're a graphic designer and you need an image of something for a greater piece that you're working on.
Uh-huh.
That's maybe like a way to get that. But you can't just. I thought you couldn't just take what the generator gives you and then use it as your own.
That's
There's got to be some. There's got to be something.
I think a
some
problem
legal,
is one
obstacle
problem
there.
is that it's been fed art that is copyright owned by artists,
Oh.
and
that's a problem.
and it doesn't seem like it matters to anyone that it's been educated and uses art that's been used for other projects by individuals
Mhm.
who own the copyrights. People don't seem to care about that. They still think it's really cool and romantic, and they're like, "This is gonna go well. I like this."
I
But-
think to me it was when I first heard about it, it was interesting for a few minutes, and then I don't know. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's boring.
Yeah, it is what's the point? Because they're doing that with music now too. They have programs where you can put in 5 songs,
Mm-hmm.
or I mean however many songs, and then it'll spit something back out that's that fits that mold. So it's okay, I'm gonna give it my 5 favorite Michael McDonald songs.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna give me back a new song that kind of sounds like a Michael McDonald song.
Sold.
I don't want to hear an amalgamation of 5 McDonald's songs.
That actually
McDonald's
sounds
songs,
great.
wow.
That's honestly all they should be doing. When Michael McDonald passes away, they're just using the technology purely for that.
Sure.
We just need more Michael McDonald content.
I'll take that. So for these last few minutes, do you guys want to open your gifts?
Do we have gifts?
Sure.
Oh, we actually do have gifts in here?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a joke.
So this is one of the things that it's in the sock.
Okay.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
Dark chocolate almonds.
Yeah.
Is that exciting or what?
The twine.
I love chocolate.
Do you like the twine more than the almonds, or do you like
Well,
the
I think
almonds more than twine?
it's that extra touch, you know,
I did
presentation.
that. I did that because I knew you'd see me.
Love chocolate covered almonds. I will enjoy those later today.
Great.
Starting early this year.
Mm-hmm. Not really. This airs on Christmas.
Does this really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Why do you think I'm dressed like this? What do you think this is?
Oh.
Very cool.
Oh my God.
Do you get it?
I've always wanted one of these.
Yeah, you deserve it. You work hard.
No, this is actually really cool.
A micro zeb.
Yeah, tiny zebra.
Fine art charcoal. Should I be telling everybody what we got?
Yeah,
For the listeners at home, you've got a little sketch pad. Wait a second.
Mhm.
A Taco Bell coupon, which is
No,
honestly
that's a gift.
This is the best thing in the stocking so far.
That is a
What is
gift
it for
right
though?
there.
Come on.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Crunchy
Jeez,
taco, soft
suspense.
taco, or a Doritos Locos taco.
You know, I had one of those the other day. Pretty good.
Free Taco
Some
Bell.
fine art charcoal
Mhm.
and kneaded rubber
Needed rubber.
Eraser
eraser.
for that very charcoal. That.
Prismacolor.
This is actually a really cool gift.
Nice.
Like I like the idea that
Coal. You got coal.
And
for
I
you
got
gave me a
Christmas. Do you
fucking
get it?
you gave me a box of coal for
Yeah,
Christmas.
you get coal. Everybody
Oh,
gets
Oh yeah,
coal.
what animal did you get?
What we used to be.
Oh.
Is it a chimpanzee? Yeah, it's a chimpanzee.
Mhm.
Well, they used
Chimp.
to.
There it is.
We were.
I'm actually
An offshoot.
I'm actually a creationist, so I don't believe that.
Ah.
I believe we existed with dinosaurs.
Very cool.
With dinosaurs?
Isn't that what creationists
Yeah,
believe? That
I
like
can't say
humans-
for sure.
You
humans
gotta
and
respect
dinosaurs-
everyone's beliefs, man.
Yeah, no, you
No,
don't.
you don't.
Not when it's that.
No, you don't. Very cool.
I think they think that dinosaurs and humans existed at the same time.
They do.
Okay. So like the Flintstones, it's very obvious.
You ever
Yeah.
seen like
We have
Oh,
that.
yeah.
yeah.
They're
They
like the
video evidence of
Flintstones.
that.
They
It's
have
real.
that. There's the Creation
Historical.
Museum. It's in Kentucky somewhere, and they have like exhibits where it's like there's.
Yeah, there are people like riding dinosaurs.
Yeah, riding a triceratops. There's a saddle on the fucking
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
That's pretty cool. That's
That's-
a cool sight to see.
Yeah. It's a good message for the
Yeah,
children.
it's like visiting a comedy festival for a weekend. You drive down to Kentucky for a couple days and laugh for a few hours.
All right.
How did you get these Taco Bell coupons? Well, actually, tell us off camera because I don't want the secret
Yeah,
going
whoa.
out to like.
Yeah, I don't want everybody knowing that.
This is.
The odds are pretty high you could figure it out within 1.5 guesses.
Well, hold on. Yeah, the back of this says we want to make it right. So did did they
Oh,
fuck up your
boy.
order at Taco Bell?
No.
That's so good.
She just put out a huge stack of like 20 of them, and she's like, "Here you go, you can have these."
All 20 of them?
I think I was a friendly
The best
customer,
night of your
and
life.
she was just maybe having a rough day. Who knows? I'll never know.
Just paying
It was a
forward.
Christmas miracle. I know that.
No, yeah, I mean, dude, this will.
Yeah, if Tiny Tim
And that's
eats
enough
enough
for me.
Doritos Logos tacos, he'll be able to walk again one day.
Yeah.
That's all I need to know.
I'm actually a huge Taco Bell.
I
fan.
love Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
For the
yeah. That's a
record.
rare treat for me, but yeah,
It's
the one.
It's probably the fast food I've easily eaten the most of.
Hmm.
You know, especially like during like high school, like college age. Taco Bell was sometimes like a daily trip
Mhm.
for either lunch or dinner.
Okay, gentlemen.
And it's also it's the
Men who
cheapest
are
fast
gentle.
food, and it's also considered the healthiest fast food company.
Are you ready?
The fast food company.
Is it really? I thought if you got the vegetarian options, maybe.
I think the meat aside, which is who knows what that is, but like, yeah, the amount of vegetables that are on stuff, and then with the tortillas and stuff.
Mhm.
Are you ready?
I'm not saying it's healthy by any means.
Are we ready
in
for
terms of fast food?
for pretend excitement?
Yes.
I'm ready.
All right, you're up. So I'm gonna take your seat, you're gonna take my seat, and we're gonna say that this painting is done,
Okay.
even though it clearly is not.
All right. Come on over.
No, it's not. It's not that. This is a. These paintings are meant to be wonderful studies for me, and they succeed in every way on every episode in that way. So
If you fucked up my eyebrows in this painting, man,
it
I'd be
was
so
really tough.
mad.
I did. I really did. That's not true entirely.
All right.
Yeah, you can come up. And this is the unveiling of the slave. The slave.
Oh.
Slave elf.
Yeah, slave. Oh, I like it.
Nailed it. Those are my eyebrows. Like, it's actually really cool. No, I like this a lot. I mean, it does look like me. That's what's kind of crazy. It's like everything is like not. It's like loosely defined lines, but I definitely see it.
Yeah.
Very cool.
These are first impressions for everybody, and I think that each block in
Oh yeah, that's cool.
makes me see a little bit differently. So the bigger picture here is not ever seen on camera.
I've always liked him, especially like your newer paintings in the last couple of years. I always like the way you choose colors. I mean, I know zero about my
It's a little
art
strange.
knowledge is zero, but I like the way you put colors together.
Yeah, these ones are strange. So this palette is pretty limited. Today was super red, purple and blue.
There's a lot of red in this palette.
Do you put any thought towards what kind of colors you're going to use? You're just kind of this day of, you're just like, this is what I'm going.
When the lights go on, yeah, is when I choose.
Very cool.
But I have the same palette that I use. I just kind of lean more in one direction or another.
One day, this is going to be hanging in someone's house. They're
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
pay about $120 million for it.
It's gonna be at the museum. of-
120 million. That's pretty generous to yourselves.
Oh, I meant, in terms of your skill.
That's generous to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they'll put it up in that Museum of Contemporary Art.
There we go.
That very one
Yeah.
with the cards.
Wherever the cards were that
Yeah.
he took it from, they'll put this
Mhm.
in place.
They'll know. And then its viewers will be forced to ask themselves a few questions. Maybe you could place a mirror next to it. Take a long, hard look.
Very
is cool. This is
Job
cool.
well done yet again, man.
Hey, thanks.
I mean, I could do this, but
You could do that in your sleep.
of course I could. I think what would be funnier is if I attempted to do this and then showed anybody. Very cool.
Yeah, this was half the Christmas that this world deserves.
Half the Christmas.
Yeah. The other
not
half
the Christmas
is
you're
the other
getting,
half
it's
is
the
being
Christmas
filmed
you
tomorrow.
deserve.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. I'm actually excited to watch that one.
And hopefully that provides them with the rest of the Christmas they deserve, but
That's right.
it's possible it'll take away this Christmas that it deserved. So they'll have no Christmas. We'll see. We'll see. Gonna just wrap this up and say that that thing that you've been waiting for me to say aloud.
Merry Christmas.
Good night and good luck.